there were actually governments sending envoys into the conclave, telling them who to vote for, and things like that. And the Vatican wanted to avoid that, and popes have reformed this process over and over to make it like it is today. And now with new technologies, of course, it's difficult. There was, at the last conclave, there was an SMS going out from somewhere in the Vatican before Francis came to the balcony. And that's why after this, they installed this jam transmitters to suppress all the signals. And this is maybe also what we see now is Jack's equipment there that he doesn't have a signal.
Yeah, I mean, they've got some of probably the best equipment in the world right now, the most modern right now. Since we're talking about possibilities, what about a cardinal from Africa? That was also mentioned as a possibility, right?
Yeah, there were two candidates mentioned. Actually, the Archbishop of Kinshasa and one career diplomat from Ghana. The Vaticanista, which is a special breed of journalists in Italy, they say it's also unlikely that one of them has been chosen because they are very conservative. They have views on the LGBTQ plus community that are not in accordance with the teachings of Pope Francis, actually, who said you can bless gay and lesbian couples, and these African bishops and cardinals are very conservative in that view, so they said, well, it might not be a good idea. Although you can argue that Africa, of course, is a growing market, so to say, for the Catholic Church. 20% of the Catholic believers are living in Africa, and the numbers are going up in Africa and Asia. And they are going down in Europe and North America, so people argue it's time now to have somebody from the Southern Hemisphere to lead the church. That could also be an argument for an Asian guy, so we will see.
And what does the changing demographics of the church, what does it mean then for selecting the Pope? I know that the Cardinals, it was the most geographically diverse conclave that they've ever had, right?
Yes.
But if the Roman Catholic Church in Africa is considered to be very conservative, is the thinking inside the church that with time the other geographical parts of the church that they will pull the African church with them into a more moderate way of thinking, or that Pope Francis would have backed? I mean, is there that thinking that it's time that has to play out here?
Well, that depends also on the development of African societies. I mean, the clergy in Africa might be very conservative. That doesn't mean that all of the devout Catholic and believers are also that conservative. We have to see, but you can see that the ratio is going down. The European churches are less important, especially also, for example, the German one. You can see that we only had only 3 cardinals in the conclave. It used to be 6, and Francis didn't create a new German cardinal, so this is also a sign that Europeans are not so important anymore.
Ben, what are we hearing right now? The band we just saw 2. It was the procession. What are we seeing there? The camera was on it for just a second.
Yeah. This is the actually, if I can see it correctly, there's a marching band of the Swiss Guard that is now coming, because when the Pope is appearing on the balcony, they will play the Vatican anthem, because he's also head of state. I mean, he's also the Holy See. So he's as I said, he's a monarch. He's an absolute monarch, the last one in Europe actually. He has a very tiny state, but he's still a head of state, and he's also subject of international law. And that's why he also gets this attention in the protocol.
And they are, kind of give us a description, they are now proceeding towards?
They will go up the steps to St. Peter's, and then they will turn around and then play the music in front of at the steps, and then so that the crowd on the St. Peter's Square can hear them. There is a sign that the balcony scene is not so far away.
Yeah. What about the crowd size? I mean, is Is this as many people as you would expect?
Everybody was sitting in a cafe, I guess, and watching the screens with the white smoke, and now they are all coming. I mean, during the day there are like 15, 20,000 people on the square, but now that the sign is out and the church bells are ringing, so people will flock to St. Peter's Square and also to the streets around it, so we will see a huge crowd, 50,000 people on the square at least, and then 50,000 in the streets in the neighborhoods.
With the security being as great as it is that limiting the number of people who can actually go in to St. Peter's and be as close as possible to the new Pope?
Well, St. Peter's itself, the basilica that you see here, the Renaissance facade, is closed to the public now. You can only go to the square, and to access the square there's no tight security. You can just be there. And the Italian police and also the Swiss Guard and the Vatican police are doing their job to secure the masses going back and forth, but they're used to it. This is not the first time that this happens, and they rehearse that a lot. I mean, they have time to do that. We also had the burial of the Pope 10 days ago, so this was also with huge crowds, so they're used to this. And this is more like a big festival in Rome. This is not a tight security measure.
But the Swiss Guard, though, talk us a little bit through who these people are. These are men. They have to be citizens of Switzerland, and they may have flamboyant costumes, but the training that they get, I mean, this is hardcore training.
These costumes they don't wear all the time. Right. This is the formal attire, these typical blue and yellow uniforms from the 16th century, actually. There are like about 450 Swiss Guard in the Vatican. They are part of the Swiss army and sent over to the Vatican to serve there. Many people are of course they are volunteers and they want this job. I mean, a devout Catholic man from Switzerland would be happy to be a Swiss Guard.
But the selection criteria is very strict, though, isn't it?
Yeah, of course you have to have the same qualifications like any army officer. And you have to live there in the quarters without your family.
And you're trained basically, if need be, to take a bullet for the Pope, right? I mean,
yeah, it's also like the security detail at the Pope. And then they don't wear these uniforms, of course. There's normal suits, and they travel with him. But there's also a Vatican police force apart from this. So there are different security forces in the Vatican to make sure that the Pope is protected. And we had attacks on the Pope. On popes already, so they try to prevent that.
In 1981.
And this is the formal thing. Everybody wants a photo with these guys because they're very picturesque, and they guard the gates of the Vatican normally, and the tourists are very happy to be with them.
And I know you've covered several popes. How would you compare this to when the world found out that it was Pope Francis? Before him, of course, it was Ratzinger from Germany.
Well, I was actually in the square in 2013 when Jorge Bergoglio was announced, and he was not on the short list, so nobody had him on his list, and we were a little bit surprised. And then you had to ask Jorge who? And then Bergoglio, and some said Berlusconi. No, it cannot be that. So it was difficult then to get hold of his curriculum vitae to see who is that guy actually.
Sure.
And then it took some days, to find out what his program is, or what his attitude towards this papal to his papacy would be. So we will see. I mean, and now we have to see and wait. And of course, we prepared some notes on the usual suspects.
And I know that the good producers in our newsroom right now are going to bring in some more cheat notes for the maybe the cardinals who were not on the list. I mean, as you say, it could be someone that we're not expecting at all. So it's coming up. It's 36 minutes after the hour. We first saw the white smoke. It was 2 minutes after the hour. So it's been about half an hour.
Yeah.
So we're getting close to the time now, right?
Maybe they are faster with the dressing this time, I don't know. Normally, I mean, they say from 45 to 50 minutes, but of course you never know.
But this procession that we're seeing right now, this has to play through, right?
This is an Italian army music band. They are also, I don't know exactly who is playing what there, what the protocol would be. Maybe the neighboring Italian state is also sending somebody over, because the edge of the square is actually already Italy. The Vatican is, as you know, surrounded by Italy and has a strong coordination with Italy. They don't have their own foreign policy, that's made by Italy. But the Vatican has its own currency, its own post office, its own jurisdiction, and its own license plates, a supermarket and a gas station and a train station, so everything is there. Everything on 1.2 square kilometers, I guess.
Yeah,
so
it's amazing. Talk to me just about the fact that people want to be physically there at this moment. I mean, you've been there before. What does it feel like when you're standing there?
It has a special appeal to be on this.
I mean, you don't have to be a Catholic either, right?
No, I mean, many of these people are not Catholic, they're normal tourists, but there are also many pilgrims, actually, because we have a holy year this year, also 2025, so many people are in Rome already for that. And there are also tourists that are just accidentally there because they booked a trip to Rome.
Great accident.
Yeah, but also many people from from Italy, from all... from the south, from the north, are traveling to Rome today to see this, because there's a certain appeal to be part of this history in the making. And for Catholics, it's of course also a special moment to see the creation of a new pope. It only happens every 10, 15, 20 years, so it's a special, it's some special occasion. And also the mood in the crowd is very special. It's very festive. People are praying, people are in tears, actually, and people are chanting, and then later at night also the dancing and the drinking will start. This is a joyful moment for the Catholic Church to have a new pope, actually.
Yeah, fascinating. I mean, it has the feel of a county fair, or almost like an Oktoberfest.
And now I think you can hear the bells of St. Peter's now. And now the bells of all Catholic Church and all over the world are will ring to announce the election of a new pope. So in every corner of the Catholic around there's now a church bells ringing. If the people are still awake, because in some parts of it's a bit dark, maybe they watched it on television. So this is also to announce that the new pope is there.
And the sun is about to go just below the horizon there, right?
Yeah.
And tell us, just from an optical perspective, what happens then? I mean, is it going to get dark because you're going to lose that sunlight? But I'm sure they've got the spotlights prepared, right? I mean,
yeah, sure. This is also very rehearsed. The Italian television company is producing all of this together with the European Broadcasting Union. There will be light, there will be sound. Everything is prepared for. This balcony scene is, of course, an iconic thing that has to be transmitted to all places in the world, and there are many million people just watching it, and hundreds of television stations and live streams broadcasting this. There are 5,000 journalists in Rome accredited for only this moment, so they make sure that the pictures will come.
I mean, before we see the new pope, let's just talk a little bit about the weight of this moment that goes beyond religion. I mean, this is something, as you say, this is a joyful occasion, and especially here in Europe, we've got an active war going on. We've been reporting on a possible war between Pakistan and India. Right now, the global order that we've known since the end of World War II appears to be unraveling, and a lot of that unraveling coming from the superpower that put it together, the United States. So there's so much disruption in the world right now. What does this do to that disruptive energy?
Well, the hope of the cardinals, also of the church, might be to have somebody who is able to exercise some moral authority to influence the political actors around the world. The Pope itself, of course, has no political power. He used to have that in ancient times, hundreds of years ago, but this is gone. But he still is this moral authority, and he has he can say, I'm speaking on behalf of 1.4 billion people. This is the largest church in the world, actually. So this is the weight that he can use maybe to sell his message. And traditionally, the Pope also Francis tried to mitigate, to negotiate between parties that are at war, in civil wars. He also tried to interfere in the Middle East conflict. Mm-hmm. Now the actual one between Israel, the Hamas, the Houthis, and all these fractions that are fighting there. Mm-hmm. It is difficult. I mean, there's also a special envoy that is trying to mitigate between Ukraine and Russia. That so far did not work, but at least they are trying, and they are one of the last moral authorities that you have. But success, of course, is limited when you have actors like Vladimir Putin in Russia, who doesn't give much attention to the Catholic Church, actually. So he's listening to the Orthodox Church, which is departed from the Catholic Church 1,200 years ago. So this is another cup of tea. So I mean, it's difficult for the Pope to find a role in this world with all these crises.
And what condition is the Church in tonight?
Well, there's lots of unfinished business waiting for the next Pope. Pope Francis initiated a lot of reforms and suggestions how to alter the Church. He also initiated a new kind of communication culture within the Church. He also tried to expand the reach of the Church to the, as he said, to the edges of the world and to the edges of society, so caring more for the poor, for sex workers, for LGBTQ plus people, and everybody who's maybe not as fortunate as we are. But the new Pope has to decide if he wants to pursue this path, or if he wants to have new things that he wants to discuss or to bring through. We don't know yet. I mean, this can also be that he will turn back some of these reforms and just listen to the more conservative forces in the Catholic Church, who are also there. There are also people like, for example, the Hungarian Bishop of Budapest, who says that's all too much. We don't want that. We don't want migrants. We don't want to open up the Church to all these things that Francis is doing. Maybe Peter Erdő from Hungary is elected Pope. Yeah. We don't know yet. Right. So, and of course, there's also this still. We have to look back. Francis tried to say that the Church failed as an institution when it came to the sex abuse or the abuse cases with children in the Catholic Church. This is still not resolved. I mean, the Church has still to work on this, and it's also the question, will the next Pope pursue that path?
And I was reading today that I think in the U.S. state of either Washington or Oregon, the Catholic Church has said that it will excommunicate priests that follow what the law there says now that they must do, is that if someone comes and confesses to them about anything that has to do with sexual abuse of children, they're supposed to alert the authorities to that. And the Church does not want that to happen. And if the priest does that, or if anyone from the clergy does that, they will be excommunicated from the Church.
Yeah, because the sacredcy of confession is a higher value than the law of the land or the law of the state for the Church. This is one of the absolute sacraments in the Church. You cannot violate this.
But it's this clash, though, that has weakened the Church in some places, right?
Yeah, it's another sign that maybe to expect that the Trump administration or this new MAGA movement in the US is cooperating with the Church somehow, or is good for the Catholic Church, might be a little bit overdone. I don't know. So it's a difficult, relationship there, and I don't think that a priest actually can breach this confession oath. That will not happen.
It's like a doctor-patient confidentiality.
Yeah, of course. If you confess to a priest in Germany or in Europe, for example, that you did something very bad, he cannot go to the police and tell them. And he doesn't have to. I mean, under the law.
Yeah, right. I mean, I guess it's what you consider to be the right thing to do.
So there you can see the balcony. You could see the balcony with these red drapes, which are only there when the Pope appears for this announcement.
You can hear the crowd is getting quieter now.
Maybe they got a 5-minute warning, I don't know, but I don't think so. But if the doors open, there will be lots of cheers and applause, of course. And then the Cardinal Deacon will appear and say, Habemus Papam. It's my maximum joy to announce to you that we have selected a Pope. And then he will name him, his first name in Latin. So think back to
how good you're laughing. Yeah, exactly.
And then he will say the Cardinal of, and then the last name, and then we will know finally. And then he will also announce the new name that the Pope will carry in the future. And this is also interesting. Sometimes it's kind of a program also. I mean, most of the popes were just named John, being John the 23rd. And also Benedict is very common, also Pius. Francis was the first. He was the first one to name himself after the saint from Assisi. So let's see what the new Pope...
Yeah, that's right.
Let's see what the new Pope has become. There was never an Andrew, for example. There has been Hadrian from the Netherlands and Marcellus from Italy, I guess. So there have been lots of names, and not every Pope has changed the name. This is also something that developed over hundreds of years, but it's also not required. You can also carry your own name if you want.
And is it correct, the popes that had the name Pius, there was one in the 1860s or 1860s, I think, 1850s, and there was another one in the 1950s, and these were the two popes that spoke ex cathedra, which means when they speak, what they're saying is that they are infallible. I think one was speaking about the Immaculate Conception, and the other was speaking about the Assumption of Mary, I think.
The concept of infallibility was created in 1870 something. I'm not quite sure. That might be that this was a Pius, and then the popes tend to avoid this ex cathedra actually in modern times. It was done until the concile in the 60s, and then John the 23rd also did some reforms, and since then it's more a collective or a collegial approach. There's not these teachings that are only done by the Pope. Many of these teachings are developed actually in the Vatican through the administration, and then approved by the Pope, but he's not sitting on a throne and saying, I cannot err. So this is not the style of management anymore.
What about the pressure on the Church to change inside, for example, to allow priests to marry, to end celibacy, for example, to allow women to be a member of the clergy? Where's that pressure coming from geographically? And what kind of resistance is it getting?
Yeah, let's take, for example, the role of women in the Catholic Church. Pope Francis started off in his early years to try to change or to enforce the role that women could play. There are some churches, mostly in Europe, that support this move, but then he had some fierce opposition from other parts in the world, also from Africa and Asia, and conservative churches in Europe that said, no, that is too far. And the question, can a woman be ordained or be a deacon, was then at the end of his papacy, they said, no, it's not possible. And this is still a path that the new Pope might have to follow, but Francis at least promoted two women to leading posts in the Vatican administration. So we have two women now leading kind of ministries or departments in the Vatican. So he showed that he wants women to have a bigger role, but on the ground it's still not possible to have a female deacon. So yeah, this is one of the many sides, the many conflicts that the Catholic Church has to deal with.
What about a shortage of priests? Is the pressure to find new priests?
There are some progressive bishops and cardinals that say we have to uplift this celibacy, at least voluntarily, and we have to allow priests to marry so that we can be more attractive actually for young men to take up the job as a priest. But this is, I think, far down the road. The Catholic Church is not that developed yet.
And for people who are just joining us, we are waiting for the emerging of the new Pope. About almost an hour ago, the white smoke first appeared out of the chimney of the Sistine Chapel, which means that a new Pope has been elected. And yeah, people are there, the crowds are there, St. Peter's Square, and they're waiting to be greeted by the new Pope. And it could happen any moment right now. Brent, talk to me there a little bit more about what would the cardinals that are in the conclave, for example, what would be the biggest argument against ending celibacy and opening up the possibility of having priests who are married and have families? I mean, what would be their main argument against it?
Well, the theological argument is that the man or the priest has to concentrate on the service, on God and his role as a shepherd, and if he has to take care of a wife and children, then he would be distracted, and that's not. It's an argument. It's hard to believe.
Well, his commitment is to God, right?
This commitment is to God, and so that's why there's celibacy. But on the other hand, you have to say it was not always the case. Celibacy was not there in the early church. It was invented in the Middle Ages. And there's some parts of the Catholic Church where priests actually can marry. We have 23 so-called Eastern churches, and some of them have the rules that actually the priest can marry there. So it is possible, and these East churches are also part of the Roman Catholic Church. The cardinals of this church are also there electing the Pope. So there are some people that argue, well, if it's possible there, why not in the rest of the church? But as I said, there are very conservative churches all over the world that don't accept that you are doubtful about celibacy. And that's a discussion that will take a couple of years. I don't know if the next Pope will be able to change that, and if he wants to change that, actually.
Yeah. A more secularized world, is that considered to be one of the biggest threats to the future of the Catholic Church?
I think, well, the Church is trying to connect to the issues and the things that people are actually caring about in their home countries and on the ground, and especially they want to reach young people, to have the next generation of believers, because if you look at the churches, they're only old in Europe, there are only old people sitting there and less. So that is a necessity that also Pope Francis says, to open up the church to communication, to talk to people, and to be more inclusive, and to show that the church is caring actually for your day-to-day things you have to take care of. How does the church do that? That has to be decided. Is it actually by getting rid of celibacy, by taking in women, by blessing LGBTQ couples? This is still under discussion, but it's also, it's also not only a charity organization, it's a religion also. So there are also some teachings and some beliefs that you cannot just change. They will develop over the years, but it's a long journey ahead.
When you're reporting on the Catholic Church, I'm sure you were asked many times, why are we seeing the reduction in numbers here in Europe or in North America? What do you give as the answer, as the explanation?
Yeah, many people feel because they think these old men in red dresses there running around in Rome, they don't know what is actually going on the ground.
The church isn't losing people to other religions necessarily, right?
No,
people are just secularized.
If you look at Germany, for example, people are just non-believer. They're in no church anymore. I think this year or last year we had the first time when we had actually less people in churches than outside of churches. So, and the numbers are for the Catholic Church and also for the Protestant churches are going down in all of the Western countries, I would say. It's difficult for the church to connect to them. In other parts of the world, it's the opposite, where the church can manifest that they are caring and doing things for people, maybe in Africa and South America.
But what is the church doing though in Africa that attracts so many people? I mean, what is the magnetism there?
In Africa, for example, the church tries to be a kind of a provider of charity and of care and things like that, basic needs, which are done in Europe by other by state. The state, for example, the necessities are there in Africa and also in Asia. They tend to be more caring for the poor and try to be shepherds in these. And in this pastoral, and the priests try to be more on the ground and actually take care of their flock. Is this the whole explanation? I don't know. There are also some people that say in some societies people tend to be more religious than others, and in the Western Hemisphere and the Northern Hemisphere. For many decades now we see that the attraction of religion is going down altogether. And it will be a fight for the church to reverse it. If it wants to reverse it. Francis also said, the Pope says also, well, if they are not following us in Europe, then you cannot force them. So we do it in other parts of the world.
Let me break in here and just remind people, if you're just joining us now, we are coming up on 7 p.m. here in Central Europe, 7 p.m. in Rome. This is DW News. This is our live coverage. We are awaiting, as much of the world is doing right now, for the new Pope to be presented. About an hour ago, the white smoke began coming from the chimney of the Sistine Chapel, the signal that the conclave, the cardinals, have voted for a new Pope. For that to happen, we know that a 2/3 majority was required, and we're talking about less than 24 hours since the first voting began. So this is relatively quick, and the crowds have been gathering there in St. Peter's Square. It's palpable, the excitement that's in the air. So it's 7 p.m. now. We're being told that the crowd is being told to expect the new Pope to emerge any moment now. While we're waiting, Barrett, this here in Europe and in the United States, in the West, we hear about this epidemic of loneliness that people talk about. Wouldn't that be fertile ground for the church to address and to offer a remedy?
Well, these images don't look like loneliness.
These are not lonely. Those people. No.
This is fun. The church is maybe trying also to say, let's be a communion, let's be a community. This is also one thing that the cardinal who gave the mass, or celebrated the mass yesterday, said the church has to be in unity, but not in uniformity. So. And it has to be diverse. He actually used these words and says we have to be more open and to form communities on the ground. So, and maybe this is also a kind of a path to work against loneliness, especially among elderly people in Europe, for example. It's a big problem here. Churches are offering things to people that are lonely. Maybe it can be more, I don't know, but the approach actually, or the will will to do something is there, but it is of course difficult. Loneliness has many reasons, and it's not only done with religion. I mean, to be in a service and to sing and to have these celebrations together is also a kind of...
Well, it's a sense of community and a sense of belonging, right?
But for that, you have to actually go to a church,
right.
And this is
you have to connect, right?
Yeah, and this is, the church attendance is going down in the Northern Hemisphere. It's going, I don't know, in Africa and Asia, how many people actually attend church there, but maybe the approach is better. Mm-hmm. But yeah, as you can see, there's no loneliness today. You see all the flags.
All these flags.
You see all the flags there because it's also kind of a national and regional competition. Who actually, which country does the Pope come from? The Catholic Church is very critical about this actually and says this is not a competition among nations. It's not the Olympic Games or whatever.
It's not the Eurovision Song Contest, right?
Because the Catholic Church or the Vatican tries to stress the universal approach of the Catholic Church. It's a universal church, and they don't actually, officially, they don't care where the Pope comes from which region, and this should not be under consideration. But for the people there in the square, it's actually, if the Pope is from Brazil or from Venezuela or the American flag we saw, then they would cheer and chant and say there's something to it.
But Ben, there are very few events that bring the world together in our world now. I mean, I'm thinking there is the announcing of a Pope like this. There is the Eurovision Song Contest. There's the World Cup soccer, football championships, and that's about it. In the United States, maybe it's the Super Bowl, but you really don't have many events that pull people together to have a shared experience, right? And this is definitely one of the huge exceptions.
Yeah, and the Catholic Church is very good in producing these images and to portray this happiness there on this wonderful square in the middle of Rome, St. Peter's Square, which is amazing, and you have the facade of this Renaissance basilica in the background and the sun going down. What can be better? So you see it. Yeah. So it's as I said, it's a chance for the Catholic Church to portray themselves as a community, and all these, you see the crowd there.
Oh, now it's full. Now it's definitely...
Maybe 50,000 people are now there. And also the street going down to the St. Angel's Castel will be full.
I mean, you've been to Rome many times, but when the conclave is in session, I mean, Rome is as we say in German, Ausnahmezustand, right? I mean, it's a state of emergency.
Well, Romans, of course, are also there tonight, but business is going on as usual. The bars are open and the restaurants and the shops. The only thing that is disrupted is the metro service. You know, there are some metro stations in the vicinity of St. Peter's which are not served right now, so you have to go by foot. Yeah. And last time I was there, it was really well organized. It's not like, for example, like a soccer game in Germany or somewhere else where people have to be separated by police because they are rioting or shouting or whatever. There's no violence at all.
People are behaving, yes, okay.
Because it's also a religious occasion and a peaceful occasion to say, also to give a sign of community and peace to each other. So
it would really be a sad commentary to be at an event like this, following the teachings of Jesus, and to out yourself as a hooligan.
Yeah, well, no, there are no hooligans tonight. Yeah. Maybe there are some also, but they are also believers maybe, and then just do the cross sign and that's it. They might wear their jackets, but I think they will be peaceful.
A lot of Hail Marys tonight as well. Yeah, it's been exactly an hour now. If we're looking at the clock, it's 5 minutes.
They're late.
They are late. They were fast deciding, and now, well, maybe they're having to take a little bit more time with the fitting. I mean, there are all of these.
Yeah.
There are all these things that have to fall into place, right?
Yeah, but now I think the camera is getting ready because the camera crews get a sign from the Vatican protocol what will happen next. And I think now they are walking from the 16th of chapel and the room of tears, which I mentioned, up the stairs to the balcony. And for Pope Francis, for example, it was quite hard to get up the stairs. You have to walk. And I don't know how old the new Pope will be if he can make it.
Do we know, is there any talking when they're actually going from the room of tears to the balcony? I mean, or is there a level of solemnity?
We don't know.
We don't, do we?
It's still part of the conclave. The conclave ends only when the Pope is announced, and everything that happens is shrined in secrecy, and nobody's allowed to talk about it. I mean, many books have been written about it, and movies have been made. We don't know if they're accurate, actually, because we know that there are some prayers on the way, and also there's somebody who does the protocol who says the new Pope what he has to do now. I mean, in this excitement, you might not know every step that is now necessary, and you also will read some of the things now. There will be somebody holding a microphone of him, and there's also a guy with the book, with the liturgy, with the concept, so that he knows what to do.
Like a rundown, yeah, exactly. Did you see the movie last year, Conclave, the one that...
No, I read the book, but from...
And how accurate was it?
Well, half of it might be true. The end, of course, was not true. There's no turn like that in the end, I think.
Yeah.
Or maybe today, we don't know. No, I mean, it's very interesting, and it's amazing how attractive this subject is of this conclave.
Because you have to imagine it,
right? So many movies have been made about it.
Yeah.
The Young Pope a couple of years ago. There was also a comedy about somebody being elected as a pope accidentally somewhere from Idaho. There's an old movie from the 90s. So, and it's... Yeah, there's always, because these rules are very ancient and very unfamiliar also. For example, the rule that everybody who's Catholic, every man who is Catholic and unmarried can be elected Pope. That's still the case. And that movie took this prerequisite and made a movie out of it. So somebody was accidentally voted for as Pope. Because also the ballots are not printed.
So if you're a bachelor, then you...
Yeah,
okay,
the Pope and the cardinals can actually write any name on the ballot. There's no printed ballot, so they can write whatever they want. And if there's a two-third majority, the guy would be elected, even if he's outside of the conclave. That did not happen since, I don't know, many hundreds of years, but it's still a theoretical thing. And there are so many twisted rules and amazing little things in the history of the conclave and this papal proceedings. It's quite interesting.
I mean, we are waiting for this event. There's a lot of anticipation. This is a global event because the whole world can watch it. But imagine 500-600 years ago, for a person, this event would have been the event of that person's life, right?
Yeah, but 500 years ago, there was no event like this.
What was happening then?
The popes were not elected in the Sistine Chapel. The conclaves were not all in Rome. They were sometimes in some other Italian cities. Sometimes, and for a couple of years, the Pope was residing in Avignon in France, so he was elected there. We had times when we had three popes, one elected pope, two anti-popes. We had also two popes, one in Rome, one in Avignon. And of course, in that time when communication was more difficult, the normal Catholic, devout Catholic would only learn it from his priest, maybe weeks after that or months after that. And modern communication, of course, makes this to an event, and also the media are playing along.
And the opulence of this setting, right?
And it's also on purpose that they adhere to these old-fashioned rules and all this secrecy. I mean, they could do online voting with the cardinals at home.
Right.
That would be also secret, but nobody would care, actually, because he cannot see
anything. It's hard to imagine doing Hail Marys in a Zoom call, you know?
Yeah, but cannot, then you don't have this event, and then you cannot, this culmination of interest would not be possible.
Yeah, I mean, I think that would maybe take a lot of the magic out of it if it was reduced to a Microsoft Teams.
Yeah, an old concept of the actually branding of the Catholic Church is to make it rare.
Make it rare.
Make it rare. Make it. I mean,
and you're not talking about steak.
This is rare, and that also applies, for example, for some pilgrimages. We have, for example, the cloth that depicted the face of Jesus in Milano.
Yes.
It is only displayed every 10 years. There's no reason for it. It could be displayed every day, but the church says we do it every 10 years to make it rare.
The Shroud of Turin, is that?
Yeah. And it's in Turin. Sorry. Yeah. So this is an example how to market these things. It's a concept. The church also has every 25 years a holy year.
For people who don't know what that is, what that means. What is that?
It's a special pilgrimage to Rome, to St. Peter's Basilica. In the holy year, the front door is open. This is the holy door, which is only open in that year, so people can enter the church through that one. And you get a special benediction or special blessing when you do this pilgrimage. And many popes want to have a whole year in their papacy. Normally it's every 25 years. Sometimes they shorten the period a little bit to have one of their own. But this is also an event that is rare, so to attract people actually.
Okay, I think we're there we go. He's emerging now. You can't hear? Yeah, there you go. There. The Pope is coming out now. This is the pro-deacon coming out right now. Let's take a listen.
Annuncio vobis gaudium magnum. Habemus papam. Eminentissimum, ac reverendissimum Dominum, Dominum Robertum Franciscum, Sancte Romane Ecclesiae, Cardinalem Prevost, qui sibi nomen imposuit Leonem decimum quartum.
We're still trying to decipher. Did you get that?
No. I'm sorry, that was... Okay. It's for certain somebody who was not on the short list. So it is true again that all these speculations were false.
Okay, here we go. Robert Francis Prevost. Trepo. Yeah. It's an American.
Oh.
It's an American.
Okay. So let's see, all the speculation were false and all the arguments were false.
It's quite... I just want to make sure I've got this correct. It's coming in quickly. Let's see.
So there you can see the representative of the East Church in black. Robert Francis Prevost.
Robert Francis Prevost. That is the name of the cardinal. This is quite a moment. The first American Pope, Robert Francis Prevost, is about to emerge. From the United States. I mean, this is what we were talking about as soon as the white smoke emerged, that the symbolism of today and what it would mean if you were to have someone from North America become the Pope, and that is exactly what has happened.
Yeah, so you can see all the speculation and all the arguments were false. Nobody is actually caring about the impact on the Trump administration.
Right.
Robert Francis Prevost, the Archbishop of Boston. I have to admit that I don't know much about him yet.
Leo the 14th.
This is the lion. Yeah, that was announced, the name.
Leo the 14th. That's what we're being told, that his name is going to be Leo the 14th.
So a lion. Maybe this is also a problematic issue already. I don't know.
And hopefully he will emerge and we will be able to put... I'm going to be able to put a face with the name.
Yeah, and he will speak in Italian, I'm afraid.
Yes.
Not American English. We'll see. But this is one of the prerequisites. The Pope has to speak Italian.
Exactly, yes, exactly.
He has to deal with, he's also the Bishop of Rome, so he has also to take care of his flock in Rome.
I mean, this is for the history of the Church, this is quite...
Yes, it's a very big surprise.
Yeah.
Actually, the Vaticanist I talked to had him on their list, and this tells us again it's unpredictable what happens in this conclave, and it's also amazing that he selected him so quickly. So it's astonishing.
And the fact that it did happen so quickly and that it is an American, then can we say that the Cardinals want to send a message with this?
Yeah, maybe, but maybe I'm also wrong when I try to interpret that now. Which message that could be? I mean,
he's 69 years old, which is relatively young.
Yeah, that's pretty young actually, because normally they aim for somebody who will reign for 10 years.
Yeah.
And they don't want a pope that presides there for 20 years, like John Paul II did. It's a bold move, I would say, by the Catholic Church to pick Leo the 14th. The 14th.
Yeah. What do we know about the name Leo, other than lion?
Well, there have been other Leos. I don't know why I'm thinking about why is he taking Leo. And is it a sign? Is it something that is actually significant?
But does it usually take this long from the moment we have the proto-deacon come out and say, we have a pope, and do we usually have this pause, this much time between that and when we actually see the new pope?
No, normally he would appear on the balcony and say something, but I think it's about to happen now. Maybe he is still trying to concentrate, to contemplate.
This is quite...
Yeah, I'm very interested now in the reaction from the White House, actually.
Definitely.
From North America. So there are the electors standing.
Yeah.
You can see Peter Turkson was the black cardinal there. Peter Turkson was one of the candidates. He didn't make it. But they all seem all to be happy now.
They seem to be. I was going to say.
And they're greeting the crowds, of course. Well, then, I mean, the view from the balcony on the crowd is also amazing. Yeah. You see that for yourself. It's very impressive when there are 50,000 people waiting.
Do we have pictures of the new pope? That's okay. That's
Yeah.
okay. If we do, let's just hold off 1 second because we don't want to miss the moment when he comes out.
And he will say a few words.
Exactly.
Usually. I mean, when Francis came out, he just said, Buonasera, good evening.
Yeah.
It was very humble and modest. And then he also said, Bon appetit, because it was dinner time. He came out at 8:15 or something like that.
So, yeah.
And that was it. So let's see how the American will handle that.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's going to be a good Bostonian good evening.
Yeah. I think
I mean,
Leo the 14th is also surprised by himself.
I can imagine. I mean, all of my friends in Boston, they're Irish. They're Irish heritage. The Catholics. I mean, I can imagine that they are just beside themselves right now.
It can be a boost also for the church in North America, maybe, so that people are more interested now in what is going on in the Vatican. But this is all also speculation. I don't know. But recently, the Catholic Church is more in the media because of the Vice President, J.D. Vance, who converted to Catholicism.
Here we go.
So it will also be interesting what dress he has, I guess. Okay. The traditional one.
There
actually.
is the new Pope. Cardinal Robert Prevost, Pope Leo the 14th.
And he's wearing the traditional mozzetta and also the stola. So this is a huge difference to Francis.
This is quite a moment. This is the first American to become a pope, and in Francis we had the first from South America, the first now from North America. So the new world, if you will, is now fully represented in the lineage, in the Pope lineage at least.
So there might be some disappointment in Asia and Africa.
Yeah,
But as I said, it's not a regional contest actually. It's more a religious procedure because this Pope now, according to the teaching of the Church, is chosen by the Holy Ghost through these 133 cardinals. It's not a competition about nations. It's something else.
And he has, in the eyes of the other cardinals, at this moment, he has morphed. He has changed now, right?
He's now representing God on earth, actually, which was not always the case. At the beginning of the papacy, there was nothing about that. This approach was only invented 400 years ago. But he is...
So he was born in Chicago. So, his roots are in the Midwest of the United States. And this is definitely, I can tell you're surprised.
Yeah, I'm surprised because we didn't have him on our list, actually. And as I said, the Vaticanista said that North American is excluded, actually. But now we learn better. All these speculations were in vain.
He served for 2 decades in Peru, so that's also a connection to South America. That's where he became a bishop and a naturalized citizen. He then rose to lead his international religious order. And it says, I'm reading, until the death of Pope Francis, he held one of the most influential Vatican posts, running the office that selects and manages bishops globally.
So let's listen.
La pace sia con tutti voi.
He wishes peace for everybody there.
Fratelli, sorelle carissimi, questo è il primo saluto del Cristo risorto, il buon pastore che ha dato la vita per il gregge di Dio. Anch'io vorrei che questo saluto di pace entrasse nel vostro cuore, raggiungesse le vostre famiglie, a tutte le persone, ovunque siano, a tutti i popoli, a tutta la terra. La pace sia con voi.
So he's wishing peace for all parts of the world, for families, for everybody. And so the crowd is shouting Leone already, so the 14th.
Questa è la pace di Cristo risorto, una pace disarmata e una pace disarmante, umile e perseverante. Proviene da Dio, Dio che ci ama a tutti incondizionalmente. Ancora conserviamo nei nostri orecchi quella voce debole ma sempre coraggiosa di Papa Francesco che benediva Roma. Il Papa che benediva Roma dava la sua benedizione al mondo intero quella mattina del giorno di Pasqua. Consentitemi di dar seguito a quella stessa benedizione. Dio ci vuole bene, Dio vi ama a tutti e il male non prevarrà. Siamo tutti nelle mani di Dio. Pertanto, senza paura, uniti, mano nella mano con Dio e tra di noi, andiamo avanti. Siamo discepoli di Cristo. Cristo ci precede. Il mondo ha bisogno della sua luce. L'umanità necessita di Lui come il ponte per essere raggiunta da Dio e dal suo amore. Aiutateci anche voi, poi gli uni gli altri, a costruire i ponti con il dialogo, con l'incontro, unendoci tutti per essere un solo popolo, sempre in pace. Grazie a Papa Francesco.
Yeah, so he's reminding us of the deeds of Pope Francis, and he says he wants to build bridges and to build bridges to all peoples in the world.
Voglio ringraziare anche tutti i confratelli cardinali che hanno scelto me per essere successore di Pietro e camminare insieme a voi come Chiesa unita, cercando sempre la pace, la giustizia, cercando sempre lavorare come uomini e donne fedeli a Gesù Cristo, senza paura, per proclamare il Vangelo, per essere missionari. Sono un figlio di Sant'Agostino, agostiniano, che ha detto: con voi sono cristiano e per voi vescovo. In questo senso possiamo tutti camminare insieme verso quella patria la quale Dio ci ha preparato. Alla Chiesa di Roma un saluto speciale. Dobbiamo cercare insieme come essere una Chiesa missionaria, una Chiesa che costruisce i ponti, il dialogo, sempre aperta a ricevere, come questa piazza con le braccia aperte, a tutti coloro che hanno bisogno della nostra carità, la nostra presenza, il dialogo, l'amore.
the church
Y se me permite
embrace everybody
también
and build a
una
big community,
palabra, un
bring peace to
saludo.
everybody. So this is his main message. He's reiterating that. And also giving a salute to the churches in Rome. You can hear the
Y
Romans
en modo
amongst them are
particular
cheering.
a mi querida diócesis de Chiclayo en el Perú. Donde un pueblo fiel ha acompañado a su obispo, ha compartido su fe y ha dado tanto para seguir siendo iglesia fiel de Jesucristo. A tutti voi, fratelli e sorelle di Roma, d'Italia, di tutto il mondo, vogliamo essere una chiesa sinodale, una chiesa che cammina, una chiesa che cerca sempre la pace, cerca sempre la carità, cerca sempre di essere vicino specialmente a coloro che soffrono.
So he's promising to pursue the way of synods and of reforms that Pope Francis initiated. He's at least hinting at that.
Il giorno della supplica alla Madonna di Pompei. Nostra Madre Maria vuole sempre camminare con noi, stare vicino, aiutarci con la sua intercessione e il suo amore. Allora vorrei pregare insieme a voi. Preghiamo insieme per questa nuova missione, però per tutta la Chiesa, per la pace nel mondo, e chiediamo questa grazia speciale di Maria, nostra Madre. Ave Maria, piena di grazia, il Signore è con te. Tu sei benedetta fra le donne e benedetto è il frutto del tuo seno, Gesù. Santa Maria, Madre di Dio, prega per noi peccatori, adesso e nell'ora della nostra morte. Amen.
So now, after the Ave Maria, now there should be the benediction. Urbi et Orbi.
Il Santo Padre Leone, a tutti i fedeli presenti e a quelli che ricevono la sua benedizione a mezzo della radio, della televisione e delle altre tecnologie di comunicazione, concede l'indulgenza plenaria nella forma stabilita dalla Chiesa. Preghiamo Dio Onnipotente perché conservi a lungo il Papa a guida della Chiesa e conceda pace e unità alla Chiesa in tutto il mondo.
Sancti Apostoli Petrus et Paulus, de quorum potestate et auctoritate confidimus, ipsi intercedat pro nobis ad Dominum. Amen. Precibus et meritis Beate Mariae semper Virginis, Beati Michaelis Arcangeli, Beati Ioannis Baptiste, et Sanctorum Apostolorum Petri et Pauli et omnium Sanctorum, misereatur vestri omnipotens Deus, et dimissis omnibus peccatis vestris, perducat vos Iesus Christus ad vitam aeternam. Indulgentiam, absolutionem et remissionem omnium peccatorum vestrorum, spatium vere et fructuose penitentiae, cor semper penitens, et emendationem vitae, gratiam et consolationem Sancti Spiritus, et finalem perseverantiam in bonis operibus. tribuat vobis omnipotens et misericors Dominus. Amen. Et benedictio Dei omnipotentis, Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti descendat super vos et maniat semper.
This is quite. Yeah, we want to get our colleague Jack Berg, who is standing by there in the square, if I'm correct. Jack, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I'm just off in a place where I've managed to get a little bit of Wi-Fi amongst the crowd so that we can speak. It's just wrapping up now, the ceremony. The cheers are going up. The music is starting to boom out. That speech by the new Pope, Leo XIV, really hypercharged this crowd that had flooded down towards the Vatican to come and see him. It was clear he mentioned peace many, many times. That's obviously something that's going to be important to him. He talked about reforms to the church and doing that through the synods. But really the atmosphere and the energy he gave this crowd, I think, is what is going to be remarkable. When it was announced, Brent, when we first heard the name, the now previous former Cardinal Provost, there was quite some gasps of shock. Not many people were predicting that it would be him. He was considered palpable, one of the cardinals that would be possibly in the running, but he certainly wasn't considered a front runner, especially for such a quick conclave as we have. We think it's 4 rounds of voting amongst the cardinals, the 133, but out he came. He was announced as leading and will now lead the Catholic Church for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, relatively young, 69 years old, and he also born in Chicago, a U.S. citizen. He's also a citizen of Peru. So you could say he represents modernity in the fact that he is a person with more than one identity. And he also has a migration background too, which we know Pope Francis, that was very important for Pope Francis, to have a compassion and understanding for people whose backgrounds were different than yours or mine or other people's. So in that sense, he does embody this modern person, and it breaks a taboo, doesn't it, Bernd, of an American being the Pope? Because there was always this thinking that the United States in the secular world had so much power, that being a superpower, that it couldn't be given also